Welcome once again for another episode of ASA, part 2 of 8. We did a part 1, and this one is part 2. This is another episode of ASA configuration part 2. Okay, and this one, ASA is going to stand in as what? A firewall. And when you check this particular DMZ, we have DMZ server, we have the web server, we have the FTP server, DHCP server. At least we can change this one to make it either a mail server or any other, okay? Yes, because if there is a DMZ, DMZ is DMZ. But what type of server is the DMZ? We must specify. If it's an SQL server, it's SQL server. So we have the plumbing at the top one also. This is our inside, the LAN. And I told you that the LAN has always been what? Trusted. That is why we have the 100%, which is 100. And this one, we are not fully trusted because we have to divide into 2 to make it either 50. From 1 to 100, any number that you allocate it to. I chose what? We choose the security level as what? 50. But outside, we don't trust outside. Outside, we don't trust them. So the security level of the outside is what? 0. Now, if you stand here, and you want to ping this place, it will ping because you've done nothing. And ASA is not in such a way that after configuring the OSPF, then it will start pinging like other routers. No. ASA, you have to configure the OSPF, then you have to configure NAT. After NAT, you have to configure the access control list. Then after configuring the access control list, you have to create what we call ASA firewall policies. Now, if these PCs here want to browse a server or want to copy a file here, you have to be authenticate here before. So the ASA stands in as a what? A filter. Packets. Are you allowed to go? And all of us know that the ACL deals with what? Deny and what? Permission. Are you following it? So we are coming to configure OSPF on the ASA. But this particular one, I added this one to it so that we are expanding the network. Are you following it? Day in, day out, we have to expand the network. And can green side ping as far as what? The yellow side, all depend on the configuration that we are about to do. So, have we configured this router already? Yes, we haven't configured that one. Well, we only dealt with the ASA yesterday. And this side too, we've not done something like that. Is that not it? This side. This side. Didn't do anything about it yesterday. So let me put the mouse here and see whether, okay, I think we did something. The rest also, we did. Okay. So the ASA is having, you see the ports, all of them are having their IP address. Okay, so let's go straight and configure the router. Let's configure the router. Are you okay? Let's configure the router. Then after configuring the router, we will create OSPF on the router. This one here, you know it already. You will just configure the OSPF on the router. Then we will also configure OSPF on what? The ASA. Configure the OSPF on ASA. So let's do our normal connections. Let's do our normal connection. Just connect your laptop. Then the console, just connect your console to the router. And we start a journey. Let's start a journey by configuring this particular side. Click on the router, the laptop, desktop, terminal. You know this one already. It's good. Let's come down. Enter in the EN and the config T. So please, we are configuring this particular router. And after configuring it, the GIJ 0/1 And the GIJ 0/0 must have an IP address related to what? The IP address over there, associate with them. Okay. So is let's type the host name. Yes, BFR1. Oh, we enabled it yesterday. Yes, we enabled it, and I said after giving the IP address, I gave it to you as an assignment too. I said configure this side and configure this. The IP. Now we are coming to configure the loopback. I gave the IP, which is 1. Is this side? Is this side that is 1? So this one is for this. Okay, let me just give you. One.
The down is 1.
Yes. Yes, last 24. When you check the ASA on, you can see that we have all of them slash 24, 24, 24. Okay. Then I put the light off. So the previous ones I have to change from 209.165.200 because other than that it will overlap. So I changed it to what? 172.16.0.1, which you have to give it to the GIJs of the 0/1. Okay, so let's configure the router. Okay, so let's configure the router. Two zero nine dot 165.200.1, 255.255.255.0. I've already done it, but I did a mistake. Instead of the 165, I put 16 there. That's what Teresa came and corrected. He said there is a mistake in it. So now it's correct, you see. So remain this one, the down one. You can type GIJ 0/1. So I'm giving this one the IP address of it. This 172.16.0.1, 255.255.0.0. So line console 0, exec time. These are the things you have to just do it yourself, okay? Okay, so done with it like this. Done with it like this. You have to configure the OSPF, but make sure that you configure the loopback. The loopback is what? 2.2.2.2. You can see it there. Yes, and you know the loopback. So int loopback, you can choose 0. Then IP address 2.0.0.0, 2.2.2, then 255.255.255.0. If you type no shutdown, it has already been what? No shutdown. So there's nothing that you can do anymore. So we have configured the loopback. We've configured the IP address. Then we configure this side. You know, because this side is not trustworthy, we are just trying our best. That is how. We don't know what is going on outside. We don't know. Okay, but it's good for us to just configure this. After you have finished, let's configure the OSPF on what? The router. Because we'll be configuring the OSPF on the firewall, which is the ASA. So configure the OSPF on the router. Configure it. So the router, I'll come and check OSPF. I'll choose 100. Then the router ID 1.1.1.1. Okay. Should I type? I don't want it to just. Okay. Let's go on. Let's type the network. So at this point, you are going to assign two network. Or yes. So 209.165.200.0, then 255.255.255.0 area. Let's use area 0. Then the network again 172.16.0.0, 255.255.255.0, then area 0. Oh, sorry, it's class B. Thank you very much. Yeah, but it's class B, 170. This one, this one we use class C. Yes, but I'm talking of this. I typed more than. That's why Kevin said class what? C. Okay, so enter. Then let's exit. Let us exit. So let's add a loopback IP address 2.2.2.2 255.255.255.0 area. Is that 111? The example I'm giving you. This one, they may know them already. So let's go to the ASA. Shall we go to the ASA? Shall we be on the ASA now? Let's go. Okay, so we have the EN, the password. We created it yesterday. So if your password is not working, then it means that Wahara. Let's go. Router OSPF is what? 100. Remember that the ASA firewall is going to deal with what? Three solid what? Network. 1, 2, 3. Three legs. Okay. So let's go. The router ID. The router ID. We can make it 3.3.3.3. Enter. You said you can just choose a different router ID because you said it's a firewall and it serves also as a router. Yes, yesterday I said something like that. Yes. If ask the question again. If you have ASA and you have DHCP what server, then ASA can distribute what IP address on DHCP. DHCP server also can distribute. But if you configure everything on the DHCP server, you have to tell the ASA that the IP address I've configured. Now filter this and this for me. You know, ASA is there as a security guard that stands in between the internal and external. ASA, but the ASA is the one that will control. Meanwhile, ASA also can distribute IP what? Address. Whatever the router can do, ASA can do, but ASA can do it more. Yes, yesterday I said it. It's a router, it's a router, it's a device, it's a router. Are you following it? Like how you can also, you know that router can distribute IP address. ASA can block, ASA can permit. So if ASA can, you can configure NAT on ASA. You can also configure NAT on the router. If ASA, you can configure what? OSPF, EIGRP. I don't want us to configure the EIGRP. I want us to configure the OSPF. That's why we went ahead. Do you understand? So if you can configure the OSPF on what? The router that we were configuring, that was last year. ASA also you can configure it. But it's not straightforward that when you configure it, then you start distributing it. ASA, it depends on what? Firewall policies. If you don't tell ASA that now you can distribute, it won't distribute. Aziz, do you understand? Yes. So whatever that we are doing on inside the router, firewall also is there. It's a firewall. It's a router, it's a firewall. So you see, it's different. Hmm? Yeah. We have securities upon securities, but we have chief security. Hmm? So this chief security is different, which means above all the securities, he's the head. Is that not it? But if you compare the cyber security, you can see the difference between all of them. Are you following it? So what you can do, somebody also can do, but the person can do extra. Shall we go on now? Let's go. So we are going to deal with the network of 209.168.1.1, then 192.168.2.1. So it's 3 plus the loopback on it, which is what? 3.3.3.3. Are you listening? Okay, so let's go. Network. Then we are going to deal with the 2.9.165.200.0, 255.255.255.0, area 0. Then the network, you see adjacency has come. You think that adjacency, oh, since adjacency has come there, we will see whether to ping. You know the router, the moment you see adjacency, it will now what? It will start what? Forwarding packets. So network 192.168.1, 192.168.1.0, 255.255.255.0, area 0. I'm on the top side. You said 1, 2, 3. I've entered this one. I've entered this one. Remain this one and then look back. I've entered inside. I've done OSPF for this one, remain this one and look back. So you just press the up arrow key and you just change this one to be 2 without you typing it again. Okay? Without you typing it again. Let me make it big. Without you typing it again. Then you enter. Then remain the last one, which is the net. Thank you, then look back. So 3.3.3.3, 255.255.255.0, area. Said, but we are giving it. We didn't configure the loopback, but we are giving it. But we are configuring the OSPF. Later we will go back and configure the loopback so they can work together with it. Okay? Because if right now I said exit, INT, You know, in ASA, the configuration of ASA, there are certain things that when you think of it, it's not like how the router is. Are you following it? The router is having its own configuration. After configuring everything, you just type what? WR-mem, which is write memory to save it. Now we are going to do a static routing. A static routing, okay? Static routing. So type route. You type route outside. Route. R-O-U-T-E. R-O-U-T-E. Route outside. We are going to route outside, but it's going to be 0.0.0.0. You don't know the IP address outside. You understand? So this is their IP address plus the subnet mask 0.0.0.0. Then if it's outside, you just yes. 209.165.200.0.1. Aziz, you said what? You said you finish? Okay. So now what we are going to do is that type exit. Okay, let's rmem so that at least then type exit. Let's save it. Then type exit. Then type show space route. Show show space route. You can see that our OSPF is telling you something. The O over here is turning in for the OSPF. So you can see the O here. You can see another O. The C is for connection. Then the S asterisk over here tells you about the connected of what? OSPF. Okay. It is that everything that we are doing is perfectly well done. It will work. Now we have to configure what. Let's see something first before we will do, because we are about to configure that. If truly we've configured everything, at least let's see this PC here. This PC. Yes. Let's see this particular Kwame. Okay, Kwame is what? 192.168.13. And let's see one of the web server over here. The web server, we don't have a web server IP address. Let's try our best to see whether we can give a web server IP address. Okay. So after yes, so let's see whether we can give a web server IP address. So let's go and give a web server IP address. Let's give the web server IP address. So 192.168.2. You said you want us to choose 150. So we have a default gateway, that is this one as well. 192.168.2.1. Then we must use the DNS IP address. So this one, instead of the, we will use it as what? 192.168.2.201. Okay. We will use the DMZ as a DNS. Let's make the DMZ as DNS. DNS. Our DNS is 3. Oh, sorry. Let's make it 3. But let's change the DNZ into DNS. Okay. Let's change the DNZ. Then you're waiting for me. Order. Okay, so right now, let me just we can just highlight this. Oh, I didn't pause the thing and went to. Okay, let me highlight this one, then go straight to this Kwame's PC and ping and see whether we can get access to it. Okay, let's ping. Let's ping. Have you seen the set request port timeout? So it means that configuring the ASA after creating the OSPF or configuring the OSPF on it, you have to configure what we call NAT. And after configuring NAT, you have to configure what we also call access list before. These are the two things that ASA always accept. And not that alone, you have to also make sure that in the access list, you have to also configure the port before it will work. Okay, so we'll call it another day. Okay, so you let's continue. Let's continue. Okay, let's continue this one. See, it can't ping. Let's go straight to the ASA. Let's go straight to the ASA. Go to config team. Now, to configure the NAT, you have to configure what we call object. But type press shift and the question tag, press shift and the question tag, shift and the question tag. You see that we have object. Can you see? It said configure an object. So before you can configure NAT on an ASA server, ASA router, ASA device, you are not getting it. Yeah, on the ASA, we are on the ASA. Yes. It's object. Are you sure? You have object too. Okay, so type object. Type object. Then shift and a question tag. It said network. Network. So when you type object, when you type the objects, then you bring the question tag, you will see network. That is the network. Make sure that you type what? Network. Then press on the shift and the question tag again. It said word. So you have to give the word yourself. Okay. So we can give the word ourselves. We can say that, okay, inside out. Are you following it? Which means our LAN is going out. Or you can say LAN out. LAN out. Are you following it? So let's make it LAN what? Out. And you know that LAN is this. LAN is this one. You say LAN is this one. So out, which means that this one, the green side will be going out. Are you following it? This green side will be going out. So let me just make it BF LAN. So in ASA, in ASA, what we will type over here is what? BF LAN. You said? Yes. BF LAN hyphen outside. Are you getting it? BF LAN hyphen out. Let's make it hyphen out. Okay. BF. Enter. Now press on the shift and the question tag. You see subnet. It said enter this keyword to specify a subnet. So type subnet. Type subnet. Then you have to type the IP address inside the LAN, which is the IP address within this one is 192.168.1.0. Then the subnet mask will follow. Okay. So 192.168.1.0, 255.255.255.0. That's all. Then you enter. Then you are now coming to configure the NAT. Because when you press on the shift and the question tag, you see that you've configured the subnet. Now you have to configure the NAT. What IP address you want the ASA to translate? Network address translation. Translate this IP address 192.168 into 209. Using it into 209. Okay. So let's type NAT. Then in bracket, you put the bracket Yes. So in bracket like this, you are going to type what? Uh, Inside stroke outside. Okay. So you can make it inside stroke outside like this. Inside stroke outside. Then yes, what do you say? The one that is comma inside comma outside. But make sure that you put them into bracket. Then bring the question tag, shift. You see dynamic. If you choose static, it means you know the IP address that you are going to deal with. And every static comes with what? An IP address. But if you choose dynamic, it should automatically detect. Are you following it? Because it can detect all IP what address. Not only one, but it should detect a lot. So you choose dynamic. Let's type dynamic. Then you type what? Interface. Okay. So dynamic interface. Dynamic interface. Choose dynamic interface. Then you enter. So you are done. You are done with configuring the grain side. You can do the same thing also to the DMZ. Are you following it? You can do the same thing to the DMZ. Then we are done with this one. Remain the DMZ. So the DMZ is going to be DMZ out. Are you following it? Yes. It's the same procedure, but only the IP address here will what? Will change. Okay. So let's look at after you have finished with this one, you type exit. Then config T. Then it said object. Object. So the object, you type network. Then it said DMZ hyphen out. Are you getting it? DMZ hyphen out. Then when you come here, you said what? Subnet. So you have to type the DMZ IP address over there. The DMZ IP address. Oh, yes. It's 192.168. What? Hey, for the DMZ is what? Thank you. 2 dot what? No? 0. 255.255.255.0. Hey, right now you are forgetting things. Oh. Then you come to NAT. So the NAT, when you type the NAT, that is where you have to type the bracket. Okay? Then you said, yes? DMZ also is going out. You know, let me just explain. So you type inside and command, then you type the outside. Then you type the dynamic, then interface, then you enter. That's all. You finish? Just type exit, then the config T. You just write a mem. Now we continue tomorrow. We'll continue tomorrow. So this is the part 2 of what? ASA. Okay? Adaptive Security Appliance. Now, though we have configured the NAT, yes, still, if you ping, it won't ping. So the last point of it that you have to do is what? Access. Access control. You see how ASA is. But other routers, the moment you configure the OSPF, no, straight away you are pinging. He said, thank you. That's what I was telling you that yesterday. Everything is inside. So the steps I'm giving you and the way we are going Friday, the same thing. I'll check the network for you. Then you do it as a test for me. Okay. Thank you very much for another part 2 of ASA. Please don't forget to like and also share. Then subscribe as well. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being with me and also sharing our mind together. Let's make one a study to make ourselves approved unto men and God. Thank you very much, and we'll meet once again. My name is Crossover. Bye.